For most Australians, planning for retirement means turning a lifetime of superannuation savings into a reliable income stream. A question many retirees ask is, how do you make the money last, enjoy your retirement, and avoid running out? There's a lot of talk about the 4% rule in retirement circles. That guideline was developed in the US and suggests withdrawing 4% of your savings in your first retirement year, adjusting upwards by inflation each year. Then we have the percentage of portfolio approach, which is the primary system used in Australia based on the minimum withdrawal requirements for retirees entering pension phase with their superannuation. And finally, we have Vanguard's Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy, which they claim delivers the best of both worlds and helps retirees achieve more with their retirement savings over their lifespan. So, in this video, we'll take an in-depth look at the Vanguard Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy to see if it lives up to its claim and if it is a worthwhile strategy to consider when setting up your super for pension phase in retirement. Hi, and welcome to the Retire Well project. My name is Rob Bourne, and I am a retired financial advisor with over 40 years' experience in superannuation and retirement planning. Let me start by explaining how the Vanguard Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy works. The Vanguard Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy is an approach designed to help retirees manage their income in a way that balances spending, market performance, and financial security over the long term. Unlike rigid rules that tell you to withdraw a fixed amount or percentage, regardless of what's happening in your investment portfolio, the dynamic strategy adapts to changing circumstances each year. At the start of retirement, you decide on an initial annual withdrawal amount, which might be based on a percentage of your portfolio. Keeping in mind, in Australia, this will always be at least the government-mandated minimum for your age. Each year after that, you review your account balance and how your investments have performed. If your investments have done well and your balance has grown, the strategy allows you to increase your annual withdrawal to enjoy some of those gains. But to keep withdrawals sustainable, Vanguard puts sensible limits in place, a ceiling or maximum increase. For example, no more than 5% higher than the previous year's withdrawal. On the other hand, if investment markets have had a rough year and your balance has dropped, the strategy recommends reducing your withdrawal to help preserve your savings. Again, there's a limit, a floor or maximum decrease, like not cutting your withdrawal by more than 2.5% from the year before. And in Australia, you still must meet the government's minimum withdrawal rule. This approach gives you a spending pattern that can rise in strong markets and sensibly tighten in downturns, but without wild swings or the risk of making overly drastic cuts. It helps ensure that your retirement income keeps pace with your needs and market realities, while reducing the chance of running your savings down too early. Most importantly, it's not about strict rules. It's about reviewing your withdrawal plan regularly, responding to real-world changes, and striking a healthy balance between enjoying your retirement and preserving your financial security over the years ahead. Vanguard's approach to sustainable withdrawals centers on 4 key levers: your time horizon, how long your savings must last; asset allocation, the mix of growth and defensive investments; spending flexibility, ability to adjust expenses; and risk tolerance, comfort with uncertainty about exhausting savings versus relying on safety nets like the age pension. In Australia, retirees over 65 must withdraw at least 5% of their super each year, increasing with age. This legal minimum changes how withdrawal strategies work here. Traditional approaches like the 4% rule, set percentage, or fixed dollar withdrawals often don't fit perfectly, requiring adaptations for local rules and stability. Vanguard's Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy is designed as a best of both worlds option, offering a way to respond to market conditions while keeping your spending within sensible limits. It aims to give retirees the ability to spend more in good years, rein in withdrawals in bad years, and enjoy a smoother ride. But the strategy must recognise the Australian context. If you're over 65, you have no choice but to withdraw at least 5% of your super each year. Let's see how this works with real numbers. So let's have a look at how this might work in practice. Let's look at the first 3 years of retirement, and we'll make some assumptions that your super has had a return of 10% in the first year of retirement, and then in the second year it has a 5% return, and in the third year, 0 return. Let's also set our ceiling and floor levels at what Vanguard suggests as a 5% ceiling and 2.5% floor. This means if your super has had a good year, then the next year you will increase your withdrawal up to a maximum ceiling of 5% more than the previous year. If your super has had a bad year, then you reduce your withdrawal by no more than 2.5% of the amount you withdrew the previous year. In the first year, your balance of $500,000 has grown by 10% or $50,000, and you withdraw the minimum amount of 5% or $25,000. No problems in the first year. In the second year, your super grows by 5% on $525,000 or $26,250. The previous year was a positive year, so you increase your withdrawal by 5%, which is the ceiling you set. Your withdrawal in the first year was $25,000, so if you increase this by 5%, you will withdraw $26,250. Your balance at the start of the second year was $525,000, and your minimum withdrawal required of 5% is calculated on this figure, which by coincidence is $26,250, or the same amount using Vanguard's Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy with a 5% ceiling. Your balance at the start of the third year is $525,000, with a zero return by the end of the year. The performance of your super in the second year, while a positive return of 5% was achieved, equaled your withdrawal amount, so you elect to keep your withdrawal at the same amount in the third year of $26,250. Again, there is no set rule here other than staying within the ceiling cap of 5% or floor amount of reducing your payments by 2.5%. At the end of the third year with zero return and drawing the same amount of $26,250, your balance is $498,750. So, in the fourth year, you would reduce the previous year's withdrawal by 2.5%, based on the third year performance, which would be $25,593. This still falls above the required minimum withdrawal of 5%, so this dynamic withdrawal strategy from Vanguard works well in this example. Where the strategy falls down is when the market experiences an above-average positive or negative return. If the return in the first year was 20%, the super balance at the start of the second year would be $575,000, requiring $28,750 to be withdrawn at 5% under Australian law, which is outside of the ceiling cap limit set. A fall in the market of a similar percent would not present the same problem, as the previous year's withdrawal amount would be above the minimum required under superannuation law. What happens if you don't need to spend all that money? The surplus funds aren't lost. You can reinvest any unspent portion outside of super, such as into a standard investment account. Alternatively, if you meet eligibility requirements, you might be able to recontribute some of the surplus back into your super, provided you're under 75 and within contribution caps, or use it to fund future healthcare, travel, or other goals. I would say the Vanguard Dynamic Withdrawal Strategy has some merit while operating within normal market conditions, but would require readjustment of ceiling and floor limits in time of extreme market movements. The dynamic approach remains valuable in this system because, even though you must withdraw a minimum, you can still put sensible boundaries on your spending and decide in advance what to do with the excess. It lets you map out how much of your income is flexible versus fixed, how you'll reinvest or allocate surplus, and helps keep your lifestyle steady across the years. It is also a good strategy to consider during market downturns to prevent overreaction of reducing your income beyond the levels to meet your lifestyle needs. So, as you plan your retirement income, remember, Australia's system is unique, but the principles of flexibility, boundary setting, and annual review will give you the best chance of making your savings last. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, or subscribe for more practical retirement advice. If you have any comments, please leave them in the description below. Thanks for watching.